And we're back for the third episode in our final invert build series for Planet Coaster. Now, as you'll have noticed immediately from the video, we are not touching the roller coaster to begin with, and instead going for some landscaping details. Now, if you've been on Discord recently, or you've seen anything from like the Coaster Sim Society server, you might have seen some of the screenshots I put in recently of the progress I've done. And what I decided to do was, because this coaster is built on a nice cliffside landscape in the sea, I wanted to create a really nice, good-looking, realistic cliff and coastal landscape for it, because I thought, you know what, this is the final one, let's go sort of mental with it and use some of the stuff I learned when building Nemesis for the first time, and use it to basically create a really nice cliff face. Now, I'm using a combination of Mango's rock set and also using some of the TMTK just rock pieces. Specifically, it's called like large flat one or something, and it's like a flexicolor rock design. It looks really good, and the texture on it is really, really nice to look at when you integrate it into landscape. And it also works really well for like wave cut platforms and things, which help just add another layer of realism for the entire project. Now, I wanted to go for this sort of design because I thought, instead of theming this ride, I thought I might just integrate it into a landscape sort of thing. So I'm basing a lot of this off of generic sort of cliffs and maybe a little bit of Greek stuff, as you'll come to see later on, just as sort of inspiration for the like landscape bit and the environment that the coaster is going to be set in. It's got nothing to do with the theme, so no, this isn't going to be themed to some Spanish winery thing that apparently is the only thing I can build. Though you might see some nods to some like Mediterranean landscapes, just because they're the easiest ones to do in this game, because we've got so much TMTK stuff to use. Doesn't necessarily mean the theme of the coast is going to be that. I'm still thinking of very generic and modern for that. But as we move to the later part of the time-lapse, you'll see the sort of direction I was going to take when it came to actually building a lot of the stuff. Now, you might also see I've got a load of gravel details and things going in, just to make this landscape look way more authentic and really, really pleasing when it's all finished. So I'm using things like the climbing roses, colour them green and integrating them into the land, so that way they look sort of like surface vegetation, and then filling them up with some of the small palm trees and the little ferns and things that just make this thing look a lot more pleasing when it comes to its final result. Now, in terms of like, if we move away from the video and the coaster and stuff, I've tried to keep this series as often as possible, and I know I did say like initially, oh, it'll be weekly and whatever, but obviously I wasn't able to do that initially because I got stuck with some university work and sorting some other stuff out, so I wasn't able to get that first video out within the next week, so it ended up being 2 weeks. And I know this video is coming up to, I think, 12 days now, so I think as a moving forward, just to preface that this series won't have a schedule, but at the latest will probably be once every 2 weeks. But if I decide to get some, if I somehow get some motivation that means I can make it sooner, then obviously I will put the video out as soon as I can. You can see me just trying to download Dave's new rock set, which I think he has just put in Bronation's Planko assets file. I couldn't end up downloading them for some reason because they just didn't work, or at least they now have finally gone into my file, but I thought it would be a little bit weird to now start using them in this situation when I've already started using Mango's rocks along with some of the other ones. Another thing I've been doing is trying to make the sort of headland look more interesting by having little sticky outy rock forms. You might see later on as well, I build a little island offshoot bit with a small little detail on top of it, which I thought just creates a nice little overall look for the coaster. And I think this ride really, is benefited by its environment rather than the coaster itself, which is why you'll see minimal theming and stuff around the coaster, but a lot of work on the environment and landscape that it's set in. Just because I thought, you know what, we're here to make something really special for the final coaster. Why not go a little bit mental with environment, which is something I don't normally do, other than when I was maybe doing Nemesis's recreation, which, to be fair, although it is obviously nice to look at, it is a recreation, so it's not an original idea. So what I'm going to do now and going forward is basically focus on in this video, sorry, I'm going to be working on the landscape around the coaster, so getting the vegetation and stuff in, and also I do end up doing the catwalks. Now, I know in the original episode I said I might do these in Blender and 3D model them. I sort of toyed with that idea and then realised it's not really worth it. Like, it doesn't look that much better than just using it out of beams. So instead, I used some pieces I'd already made in the past to create the frame, and then I basically made a custom beam catwalk, which you will see later in the time-lapse, probably when the voiceover has stopped, because obviously I don't tend to narrate the entire thing, because I can't talk for 20 minutes without repeating myself. I can't talk for 5 minutes without repeating myself, because I end up thinking I've, not said what I have said about a million times. So you can see I've just got the roses going down on there. I think moving forward with this project in particular, I'm going to open up some suggestions for names again. I did post an idea of like maybe it could be called Siren, maybe, because it's sort of based on when you, it's based on like a mermaid on a rock kind of thing, and it's placed coastally, which looks pretty decent, and I think that maybe that could be a cool theme and idea going forward. If you have any other ideas, do leave them in the comments, because that was only just one idea that I threw around. Themes as well, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to do this a nice generic callback to some of my older rides like Mirage and Anubis with those nice neon designs. But instead of putting these on like flat ground with big massive palm trees, it's going to be more realistic in the environment that it's set in. Now, going back to quickly this landscape thing, you can see what I'm building here. Now, what I'm doing is building one of those really nice little Greek windmills just to put on the on here, because I thought it might add a nice other detail to it. Again, as I said, it doesn't necessarily mean the theme's going to be like a Greek thing, but it just is something else to put on there, as it kind of creates a more interesting looking thing. And to be honest, it's a nice little detail which I think looks really nice. And obviously I'm adding the little like diagonal bits, and it just comes together to be a really nice little piece, which I do end up using again for another area of the coaster, which you'll see later on. So I'm quite happy with how this turned out, and you can see I was like kind of toying with what to put on the roof, getting suggestions from people, but I ended up just making it a flat roof because I thought this would be the easiest thing to do. Adding a bit of gravel and some ferns means that I can basically turn that into a tiny little island. It's technically called a stack on in like geographical terms, which is when it erodes and creates a little landform. So it'd be nice to throw. It was kind of nice to throw in some of the A-level geography shit that I did back in the day when I was a student for geography, because I technically am a student now, but for something else. Let me think of anything else that I can talk about, otherwise I'll just be sat here waffling about absolutely nothing for the next like 5 minutes. In terms of uploads for this channel then, I haven't been entirely convinced of what I'm going to do next. I have sort of been toying with the idea of maybe just throwing some other gaming videos out, maybe, but I don't know if that wouldn't go over very well, because I know a lot of you guys are here for coasters and Planet Coaster in particular. So I'm not entirely sure, but chances are I'm going to be... I might potentially throw out a couple of other videos, but I'm not entirely sure about what they're going to be or when they are going to be. As I said in the last episode about the whole potential Planet Coaster 2 thing, obviously if that does get somewhere, or we do see something about Planet Coaster 2 or whatever the creative management sim is going to be, I will of course 100% come back and make a video on it so we can talk about things and break it down and kind of make a bit of a, speculation series about what could potentially be the future of the game. And if we do get a sequel, I'll be back in business very much guns blazing, because when I say I'm, the last Planet Coaster video, I mean just purely for this game. Like, I don't necessarily mean I'm leaving the theme park scene or I'm leaving the theme park simulation scene or anything like that, because I'm not. I still very much love it. It's still one of my favourite genres of gaming. So if we just get a new one, I'll be more than happy to keep making videos on it, because it's something that I'm very passionate about and I want to continue being very passionate about. Which is why I have sort of toyed about the idea of using No Limits 2 as well, because although I've never been massively skilled at NL2, I've made like one video on it, and was that Grand National recreation from quite a while ago. I did quite enjoy doing that, and I thought that did turn out quite well. So I will probably toy with that idea, maybe make a couple of NL2 rides, and we'll go from there and see what happens. But let me think. thank you for like 5,500 subscribers. We did recently just hit that, and I really am appreciative of you guys for that. You might notice that my channel banner and some of my branding has changed a little bit. That's just because I thought it'd be a nice way to send off Planet Coaster by giving my last project its full glory as being the channel banner. And I also thought it just looked like a nice picture. And that's, to be fair, what you can see as the finished product with this coaster. But anyway, I think that's about it. If I haven't got anything else to say or anything important, I'll leave a pinned comment or anything, but I don't think so. One thing I will mention is that as soon as this project is finished, I will be posting it on the workshop so that you can download it, but obviously, like Nemesis, you're going to need Blanco mods, which I will, for that video, leave a link to the mod tutorial videos, and obviously the server where you can download the stuff from, as it will be a way of being able to get into the final, the final project of TPW in Planet Coaster. And I thought, you know what, this is a cool ride, and I think you guys should experience it on your own computers, because it probably won't run too bad when I'm finished, but no guarantees, because I am building a lot of steps, as you can see currently. So yeah, that is about all from me, so I will let you guys continue watching the rest of the time-lapse with some more wonderful RCC3 music, because it is just the best music to have when building something like this. It's just so calming. And as always, leave any suggestions you might have for future videos or anything to do with this coaster. Go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I will try and read them, and I will see if I can integrate any of them into the coaster as a project. So that's about it from me, guys. I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more content in the future. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.